Okay, everybody. I'm starting a stream. I just came over from Driveway Demons. He has a stream going right now. So I have to invite him because I was going to make him a guest. So basically, as you can see, I've included the link that I'll be using for the news that I'm reading. And if you want to see that news, you could take a quick look at it right now. Basically, you can read it for a second while I'm waiting for Corey. He's about to end his stream, so I'm trying to catch him before he goes elsewhere. So the bottom line is, the question is, are you ready for electric vehicles? That's the bottom line. So are you ready for electric vehicles? They're coming. Now, me personally, I think that a lot of people aren't ready for electric vehicles simply because they don't have the infrastructure to deal with them. When I say infrastructure, what I'm saying is a lot of people don't live in houses. A lot of people don't have garages. There's a lot of people who may have a house and a garage, but perhaps they're not ready for 220 volt charging. Now, when it comes to EVs, there's usually 3 steps when it comes to electric vehicle charging. There's step 1, which is basically 110 volts. And if you take a look at, even the Tesla, the Volkswagen ID4, those come with step 1 chargers. And a step 1 charger charges at about 110 volts, and that takes a long time to charge a car. It gets it done depending upon how long it has to sit there and charge, but it takes a long time. So step 1 charging is really not practical. So now you have what's called step 2 charging, where you're talking about 200 to 240, possibly 250 volts. Now the step 2 charger usually has to be built into your house. And that's the same type of charging that you would be using. Like, let's say you have a air conditioning unit, right? So if you have one of those really big, heavy air conditioning units, chances are you have a 220 or 240 volt line in your house. So the step 2 charging is what you would need in order to be able to charge your electric car and be able to charge it faster. So what we're saying is, when you get home at the end of the day from work, right? Now, depending upon how far you drive, right? When you get home at the end of the day, the first thing you're going to do is park in your yard. The second thing you're going to do is plug this car in. As soon as you plug this car in, it's going to start to charge. Now, let's say me. I usually get home somewhere around, like, let's say 3 or 4, right? So, okay, I'm just giving him the link. Hold on. That's all right. So as soon as he gets the link, we're good.
Has really sunk.
All right. Yeah, I'm just giving him the link.
That's the problem here. The bigger you go, the more you gotta fall in line. It sucks. Absolutely sucks.
Okay. So yeah. 1 second.
Miles, been here since 15K. Appreciate it, buddy. Yeah, Gary, I'm going to be getting into some car reviews, hopefully now that the pandemic.
Hold on one moment.
Out and it's better.
Because I'm trying to invite him over.
Hopefully very soon.
I got to make sure he even sees the link.
I didn't see a link, big truck. Hellcat Journey would be sick, bro. Wrangler Hellcat. Yeah, that'd be nasty. Just imagine. Just imagine that. A Jeep pickup truck. Hellcat engine. Gladiator Hellcat. That'd be crazy. We might actually see that. We might actually see that.
1 second, hold on.
Hellcat 300.
All right. So, okay, so I invited Driveway Demons over. All right, let me just take a look at some of these questions that people are talking about. It says, yes, I was going to get one, but hold on. Where's my fucking stream here? Oh, okay. All right, wait. Let me clean this up just a little. I got to get rid of some of this news. Okay, all right. Okay, so let's see. Somebody says, I was going to get one, but I checked and it said that in 5 years, you're going to spend a lot on the battery. All right. So first of all, I'm going to just say this up front. I want to get an electric car at this point, and my thing is I'm going to lease it. And the reason why I'm going to lease it is because when you lease a car, you don't have to worry about those battery issues. Most of the stuff that we're buying now isn't designed to last for a long period of time. So ultimately, because most of the stuff is designed with like planned obsolescence in mind, my thing is I'm not gonna buy something with the intent on keeping it. Now, if I like it a lot, maybe I'll do the option to buy or something. But I'm not planning on keeping it. I'm gonna use it, and if I like it, then that'll just be that. I'll use it. I'll hold on to it for a while, and when it comes time to decide whether or not you want to keep it or not, I'm just gonna probably dump it. But because what I have to say, when I went to Mopar Nationals, one of the things that I realized is none of this stuff that we're buying now is really designed to last. Okay, so the thing about it is, like when you look at these old cars, like the Coronets, and you look at the what is it called, the '69 Charger, those cars are made of materials that will never ever get old. And because they're made of materials like leather and metal and everything, those things will be around forever. So my thing is, I just don't see the longevity in anything that we're building right now. I don't see the longevity. Now that said, I would definitely lease it. I know right now Tesla, for example, is having issues with their 2013 models because apparently, because of the fact that those cars were designed for the 3G cellular network, right now the 3G cellular network is being taken down. And because it's being taken down, those cars aren't going to be able to communicate properly. So that means that if you have an old Tesla, it's basically going to be useless. Now, Dodge, I know, is definitely not going to build around. They're not going to build one of those things around. How should I say? They're not going to build it around the internet, right? So if they don't build, as long as they're not going to build the damn thing around the internet, I don't think that it's going to be much of a problem. I don't think it'll be much of a problem buying one of those cars and holding on to it for a long period of time. That said, I don't think I want to buy one of those cars and hold on to it for a long period of time. I want to lease it, see how the damn thing works, and if everything is good with it, then maybe I'll keep it. But if it's not, then that's just that. So we'll see what happens. But ultimately, electric cars are coming whether you like it or not. The issue ultimately is all these cars that we got now are extraordinarily wasteful. They're wasteful on fuel. They're loud and obnoxious in many cases. And the government is going to end up figuring out ways to just legislate this stuff out of existence. So there's lots of ways it can happen. Either it can happen by, fuel prices going up so high that now you can't afford it, or it can happen in other ways. It can happen by, regulations that they're putting out. Like New York City has a new law called the sleep law. The sleep law basically says that they're cracking down on extraordinarily loud muffler systems because I have to deal with these assholes who keep on trying to make these horrible fucking four cylinders as loud as they can, right? So what they do is they start at the beginning of my block. They build up speed and pressure up until they get right about to where my fucking house is. And then they let that pressure out in a loud fucking pop or bang. It literally sounds like somebody shooting a gun. And I'm like, this is bullshit. You mean to tell me that I got to deal with this nonsense because somebody wants to show off their fucking piece of shit fart can four cylinder? I don't want to hear that shit. So frankly, in the future is going to be a hell of a lot quieter. I'll just say it just like that. It's going to be a hell of a lot quieter. Now, as far as fuel savings goes and oil and petroleum use and this, that, and other, you ain't going to have to worry about that because they're about to knock that right the fuck out. First of all, gas right now, depending upon where you are, gas is about $4 a gallon. Now, when I went down to Pennsylvania, I had to pay $4 a gallon for a regular unleaded 93 octane. 93 octane was $4 a gallon. So that cost me $93 to return to New York on a full tank, right? And I was driving so fast that I pretty much used about 75% of my fuel coming back. When I was going from New York down there, I wasn't driving very fast, so I only used about 50% of my fuel from a full tank. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, yeah, well, I missed the sound of the V8 and I missed the supercharger whine. Listen, if you want to buy one of these cars and you want to hold on to it, yeah, by all means, you could buy one and hold on to it. But those things are going to get so ridiculously expensive just to maintain them that chances are you're not even going to be able to keep them. First of all, right now, the Charger and the Challenger's played out. Everybody and their mama got one of them damn things. It's boring now. So that said, we're going to have to move forward to something new. We're going to have to move forward to something new or something better. Wait, let me see. I got somebody just sent me a super. I keep trying to send Corey my fucking thing. I don't think he's not in my chat yet, but I keep trying to send him my Oh, okay, yeah. Hey, Driveway Demons, are you in the chat? Are you in the chat, Driveway? Because I'm gonna invite you in. Yeah, I don't think you're in there. All right, I was trying to invite him in there, but I can't. For some reason, his phone number is not accepting the text. I don't know what it is. All right, so Avery says, do you still have that red Hellcat? If yes, I've been missing. Somebody bought it from me. I'll just say it just like that. Somebody bought it from me. They offered me a lot of money. I don't know if you've been paying attention. Lately, the used car prices are really, really high. I wasn't even going to talk about it. Somebody bought it from me. That's it. That's the end of it. So right now, it's the Jeep SRT, and I do have one other car, but I don't talk about it because it's not a performance car. It's just an economy box. So that's just that. Okay, let me see what somebody else said. I am more interested in the... Okay. Wait, how the fuck did he do this? Okay. What is this? I definitely see a future in EV, but my only issue is the amount of time needed to charge these vehicles. All right, you know what? That's what I started out by talking about. I was waiting for Driveway Demons to get here, and I was going to invite him into this chat box. Is Driveway... Oh, okay, Driveway Demons. Listen, I'm going to put the link here, and all you got to do is you got to click the link, and when you click the link, you're going to come into the room, and I'm going to let you in. So just click that link that I just dropped there. All right, you can see it. Click that link, and then I'm going to let you in, and it'll be me with you. So click that link, and it may ask you to do a couple of things, but as soon as you end up in the lobby, that's when I'll let you in. Okay. Right now, I'm trying to get Corey in because I was just on his. Yeah, right now I'm waiting for Corey to come in. So let me just answer a couple of these questions because I was going to do a one-on-one with Corey before I go to anybody else. But Corey, if you learn how this system works, you're going to love it because you can stream to YouTube and you can stream to Facebook, and I think you can stream to Instagram simultaneously. So StreamYard handles your stream from you. No, it handles your stream. It goes to all three, and it's a free system. But if you want to pay for it, I think it's like $20 a month, and I think you get a lot more time or something. I think it's unlimited. And through this system, it allows you to invite people on a panel. It also allows you to take in super chats and stuff. But I think YouTube does that anyway. All right, so what was I going to say? All right, so you got three. And by the way, Corey, if you have problems, let me know. But all you really have to do is just register with Facebook or Google or something. And I think it should let you pretty much right in. But you have to go through the link that I just gave you, okay? All right, so what was I saying? There are 3 steps. The first step is like 110 volts, right? Maybe it's 110, maybe it's 115 volts. Depends upon what kind of charge you got. Now, that will charge your car in about 18 hours. That's 110 volts, right? Now, most people, 18 hours is too much. Hi, Leonard. Yeah, listen, I'm waiting for Corey to come up. I'm going to get him first, and I got to do a one-on-one with him first, and then after that, I'll invite other people up, but I'm waiting for Corey right now. So as far as the way the step system works, right, there's the 110-volt charger, just like you use for your iPhone, and that 110-volt charger can go up to like 115 volts. It may even be like 120, right? Now, that's step one. That takes about 18 to 20 hours to charge the car to full. Now, step two is the one that you have in your house if you have an electric dryer or if you have an air conditioning system on your house. Step two only takes about 7 to 8 hours. So basically, as soon as you get home from work, you plug the car in. By the time you wake up in the morning, the thing is fully charged. The newer chargers with step three, like Tesla has, their superchargers can return a full car battery in less than an hour. Now, that's industrial strength charging. None of us have that in our house. The most we have in our house is about 240. Okay? So the step one, step two, step three system, my guess is most people who do buy an electric vehicle are going to invest to have a step two built into their system. Who's Kai? Who is that? Who is that? Who's Kai? Yeah, who's this? Hello? Can you hear me? Who is that? Everybody.
Oh no, I'm just here.
Hello?
Yeah. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
waiting. Oh, all right, Kai. Yeah. Oh, I was just checking to see who you were. I thought
Yeah, I'm just here. Yeah.
Wait,
Hello,
hold
can
on,
you
hold
hear
on.
me?
Yeah. Oh, all right, Kai. Yeah. Oh, I was just checking to see who you were. Oh, sorry about. I'm sorry about that. There's you were echoing, and I was trying to figure out how to take you down without kicking you. I'm sorry about that. But no, I was waiting for Driveway Demons. I was waiting for Driveway Demons to join up. I don't know where he is. He should be here in a second. So anyway, most people. Let me just type. Hold on, just a second. All right, most people who buy an oh, there he is. Okay, Corey, you hear me loud and clear? You got your mic you got your mic set up?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine. So basically, Corey, the way this works, just like you saw with StreamYard, when you sign into StreamYard, it asks you for your YouTube and your Facebook password, right? What it does is using StreamYard, it can start a broadcast and it broadcasts to your YouTube and it can also broadcast to Facebook. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it can broadcast to Instagram or some other social medias, maybe like Twitch or something. So basically, you're in one place broadcasting to multiple places. And this is free software. And you can highlight people's what the fuck? Oh, I lost him. What happened? It says he's not connected. Oh, there you are. Oh yeah. So basically, when I put out that link, just like I did for you, the people who've used StreamYard are already signed in. So all they have to do is click the link, and it allows them to join the panel. I can have up to 6 people, and I can basically control. If you're the person doing this, you can control how many people you have, and this way you can host panels. You hear me, right?
Oh, I hear you.
Oh, good. Okay, great. Yeah, so anyway, I was explaining to people the steps. Now, here's a question. Have you driven any of the electric cars as of late? Have you driven any of the performance electric cars?
No, the only electric vehicle I've ever driven is the Tesla.
Okay, just the Tesla. All right. Now, oh, by the way, your camera will work if you want to use it.
I tried to, but it keeps like telling me it's inaccessible. I don't know why.
All right. Okay, don't worry about it. So anyway, I was going to recommend to you read. Because see, when we're talking about what's happening with these cars, you got to remember this isn't Dodge making these decisions. This is Stellantis making these decisions. The problem with Dodge is that Dodge only makes cars in left-hand drive. Stellantis is trying to do global platforms at this point. And the problem is, as you probably heard, Europe and I believe Asia, most of Asia is basically saying, yeah, you got to go electric because by 2040 or 2050, all of these cars are going to be electric. It's going to be harder and harder and harder to get gasoline. Now, there will still be petroleum, like there'll still be house oil and there'll still be like propane and stuff for your grill and stuff like that. But you never know. That might go away too because a lot of us have George Foreman electric grills, so the propane thing may disappear eventually too. A lot of people who have heating oil and all that stuff, in 20, 30 years, you never know. A lot of that stuff's going to go the way of solar and a lot of that stuff. And I understand the disadvantages of solar that most people throw up right away. But when it comes to these cars, oil prices, gas prices are high as hell. these cars are not meeting any regulations that are being set in the future. These cars are on average getting between 10 and 15 miles to a gallon. I don't know if you saw the new Wagoneer, right? The guy was saying that this thing is only getting 15 miles to a gallon because it's a 6.4 liter Hemi in a truck that weighs 6,000 pounds. It is over 6,000 pounds. So poor gas mileage is to be expected. When it comes to things this size, like the TRX, the Wagoneer, the only thing that you can do logically is you have an electric vehicle in order to give you that torque and that power without giving you the horrible gas mileage, or you have a diesel. Most people don't want to buy a diesel unless they're buying a truck. So there's no way to meet these emissions requirements. There's no way to meet these future regulations. This is not Dodge's decision to make. They have to make their portfolio a certain level of efficiency. And there's a couple of cars that they might keep as halo cars where they can say, yeah, it'll just be purely gas. But they already know what's coming. And the bottom line is, just like you see with the Wrangler 4xe, the Ram e-Torque. I think you have a Ram truck, right? Corey?
I think that the issue with Dodge is that they've set the bar, basically. They put out all these high-powered vehicles over the past, 12 years, 13, 14 years, really, because it started in 08 with the 6.1. But the big issue here is people's expectations got so high, they're paying out millions and millions upon millions in tax credit fines because they're not meeting emission standards. So Dodge just says, the hell with it. We'll just keep paying hundreds of millions every year and do what we want. And they are profiting somewhere in the, I think they said like $4 or $5 billion is what they've profited over 10 years by paying the fines and doing what they want. However, I think the issue here is because Ford has announced that the S650 chassis is going to stay with a 5.0 and the GT500 will stay, gasoline powered until 2026. The Camaro SS and the Camaro ZL1 are not going away until 2026. Dodge, I think, is aiming to beat them to the punch on the electric vehicles because we already know that a GT500 and a ZL1 can't touch a red eye on a drag strip. We already know this. Doesn't matter. People can argue it day and night. If you put equal tires and equal drivers, Hellcat red eye wins every race against ZL1 and the GT500. So Dodge has already left them in the dust. I think they want to beat them to the EV because there's nothing left to do in the gasoline engine because let's face it, Camaro is not getting 1,000 horsepower, neither is the GT500, which means I think they're trying to beat them to the EV market. That's what I think they're trying to do. I think Dodge has said, hey, we've killed them already in gas. We already know they're going to go to 2026. Let's just beat them to the EV market for 2024 because realistically, there isn't going to be gasoline engines left in 2030 or 2035. So I think Dodge thinks in their own unique way that they're going to beat them to the EV market. I think that's really what they're trying to do. Now, whether that succeeds or not, that's to be seen. But I really think that that's what they're going for. Now, I'm not saying that the Hellcats are completely dead and you're not going to be able to buy them anymore. Dodge is just not going to be producing Hellcats after 2024 or 2025. It's just, they've already said the Challenger's gone. We're going to have a 2-door EV Charger. The 4-door Charger might remain, but we might get one last hurrah, 2023, 2024. It's being said that we could see a hybrid all-wheel drive Charger with 1,000 horsepower. To be honest, the people that I have in Detroit that I talk to have said Dodge has pretty much axed that idea because of Corona. They've lost 18 months to make that work. They can't make up for lost time. So I don't know if that's even going to happen anymore. I mean, it's yet to be seen. What I think is going to happen is we're going to see a 4-door Charger remain, but it's going to get the new chassis design in 2025 or 2024. And it's going to be on the Alfa Romeo Giulia chassis. We're going to see an electric 4-door Charger or an electric V6 assist. And we're going to see a twin turbo. I think it's basically going to be a Giulia. You're going to see like a 500 horsepower twin turbo Charger. And I'm all for that because a twin turbo is a much better than EV. With a twin turbo, you get 500-600 horse. The car is only going to weigh 3,700 pounds, 3,800 pounds. You're looking at a Charger that's going to run probably in the high 11s bone stock just because it's 700 pounds lighter and still makes over 500 horsepower. At the end of the day, I don't think gasoline engines are dead. I think Hellcat engines are dead. By 2025, the only gasoline engines you're going to get are twin turbo V6s and or electric assist hybrids. But as far as getting any V8, all V8s will be dead by 2025 with Dodge. All of them.
But let me just say this. Dodge isn't beating Ford to the market. Ford's already got a Mustang EV. They've already got a F-150. They've already got electric cars. So does GM. GM next year is going to release the Lyric, and that means that if they have a car for Cadillac, that means they must have something for GM, and they probably have something for Chevy too. But we already know GM has the Bolt and the Volt, and just in local news, they were having problems with fires. I think with the Bolt. But Tesla was having some issues with that too. So I know they're trying to work those things out. But but the thing about it is Dodge will be getting to the game dead last, actually, because even Mercedes and BMW, they've got their electric vehicles planned for this year and next year. The EQS is only behind on schedule because of the chip shortage, right? So Dodge is actually going to end up getting there last. Now, as far as Stellantis North America, they're talking about releasing a Hornet, and they're releasing a couple of things. Now, I don't know if they're going to bring back any other nameplates like the Polara or whatever. But the thing about it is, as far as Hellcats go, you're talking about a 4,500-pound car that basically gets between 10 and 13 miles per gallon city, and possibly 18 if it's only driven on the highway, maybe 18, 20, right? Those days are over. That is done. That is just done. Now, as far as racing, Tesla's already proved you can't beat that with just about anything, with the exception of possibly a Porsche Taycan, possibly. And that Tesla's destroying these cars on the drag strip. I think you've seen the new Plaid mode. I've driven the ludicrous mode. I'm waiting to drive a Plaid mode, but we haven't gotten them here in New York. Now, imagine if, because first of all, Dodge is going to go towards the specs. They're going to try to make something that's so fast that it's easily faster than the current cars that we have stock, right? And they may even try to compete with Tesla, because they're saying that the STLA platform that they're going to build these cars on can accept up to 3 motors. And as you know, the Plaid mode Tesla is pretty much the fastest 4-door that there is. It's 0 to 60 in less than 2 seconds. And the shit is running 9-second quarter miles. It's basically running faster than the Demon out of the box, right? So my thing is, I trust that Dodge is going to put out something, and I trust that they're going to use the specs to say, you know what, this is better than what you had, and it's also going to be more efficient. My bottom line is, I've got my money ready for 2024. I'm probably going to be the first man online for it. I think I want to get it in silver.
Well, Dodge is definitely not first to the EV market. But what I meant by that is
I'm sorry.
They're last for sure. But as far as high-powered performance, they're the first of the American companies to go 1,200 horsepower in their first year.
What about Tesla?
I don't think the Tesla
American.
They are, but
Plaid mode has more power than that.
I think that you're going to be looking at. I think you're legitimately going to be looking at a very mid 9-second car with the new Charger being 1,200 horsepower, and what is the torque on that? 1,000 torque?
Well, okay, the Tesla Plaid mode is 1,020 horsepower, 1,050 pounds of torque, 0 to 60 in 1.98, and it runs 9.65 quarter miles. It runs faster than the Demon if you change up the tires. But on the street tires it comes with, it's still running in the 9s automatically out of the gate.
So Dodge's new EV is going to be 1,200 by 1,200. I think that's what I've heard from my guys in Detroit. So you're looking at about a 930, 920 EV. They're going to smash Tesla. The reason why Dodge did this was to beat the American brands on the drag strip in EV vehicles. They want to beat everybody in drag racing. Now, as far as bringing vehicles back, I've been telling everybody the CUDA's been coming back for years. And I think Tim Kuniskis has been planning that. Dodge has been planning it. They've known about the Stellantis merger for probably the last 3 years. They've had these ideas in the back of their head. And now that everything's coming to fruition, I think we're going to see very much see a twin turbo CUDA come back. We might see a V8 in 2023 for a few year limited run. There's a lot of buzz going on that I've been hearing up in Detroit about the CUDA still. But at the end of the day, Dodge has brought the EV vehicles here for one reason, because they want to be king of the drag strip. They've always wanted to do that. Now, these Teslas are fast, but let me let everybody know about one specific thing, that these electric vehicles, specifically Tesla, and even if the Dodge is faster, which it probably will be, there's still a very big problem here. Driving a car, there's more to it than just quarter mile and torque. There's a driving experience. You're not going to get the exhaust. You're not going to get the rumble. You're not going to have the muscle. You're not going to have the characteristics or the dynamics or the handling. And not only that, you're not going to have the classic feel of driving an actual, internal combustion engine, when you're driving your vehicle. Number two, electric vehicles suck on the highway. That new Tesla won't touch a Hellcat on a 60-mile-an-hour roll. It'll get dusted. By the time they hit 120, that Hellcat's going to be leaving boat lengths behind it, buses and buses. It's going to gapify it. The only thing electric.
Whoa. First of all, the ludicrous mode Tesla drag races Lamborghinis out the quarter mile and wins. Now, versus these Chargers, you can look on YouTube. There's example after example after example of the Teslas killing Dodge Charger Hellcats, Red Eyes, and the Demon. Now, unless the Demon was to do that launch, and that was against the ludicrous mode, the Tesla Plaid mode cannot be beaten by any of these current cars, by none of them. Now, if you mod your car to be 6 seconds or 7 seconds, maybe. But nah, the Tesla Plaid mode is literally faster than all of these top-end Dodges right now. All of them.
Yeah, the thing is that the Tesla is very fast. Very fast. But an electric vehicle will never have the steam at 148 miles an hour that a supercharged V8 does.
Where are you driving? Well, hold on. Where are you driving at 148 miles an hour? Where?
Well, no, I'm not saying that I am, but I'm saying on a highway roll, once an electric vehicle hits about 90 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour, they lose a drastic amount of inertia. And if you're into drag racing, an electric vehicle might be cool. But if you're into like third of a mile, half mile events, full mile events like in Europe that are doing, and all over America, it's become very popular. I've went to third mile events quite a bit. I raced the Tesla P100D, the fastest P100D. I forget what it was, like 3 years ago in my Red Eye. We did a third mile, and my Red Eye was making 1,000 wheel. Well, not quite, like 930 wheel. Might as well just call it 1,000 horsepower. But he got me out of the gate. When we hit it at 30 miles an hour, we hit it. He pulled off about a half a car, but by the time we were halfway through, I was just fucking laying boats on him, man. It was probably like a 3-4 car gap by the third mile. They just don't have the steam for the third and the half mile events. They just don't have it. The only thing they're good for is not burning fuel, emissions, and quarter mile. They are not good in a third mile roll. They're not good in a half mile roll. They're not good in a full mile roll. They don't have the top speed. The only thing they win is quarter mile. And while you're running that quarter mile, you have no internal combustion sounds, no driver's experience, and there's no masculinity there. You have a silent, vibrating, humming sound electric motor that's good at one thing, quarter mile. That's it. There's nothing else there. It leaves a lot to be desired. And I know that that's where we're headed, but the thing is that facts are facts. Like the guy in your chat said, Francis, a Tesla might be a great car, but I can go buy a Civic right now, a Honda Civic for $5,000, $4,000, drop a K20A Type R engine, put skunk 2 cams, build it for $2,000, put a turbo on it, and have $15,000 out the door and run sevens for $15,000. Like the thing is, it is what it is. Electric vehicles are great. I would like to drive one. I would like to own one. But to completely annihilate gasoline for electric is going to leave a lot of things to be desired. And the only thing I have to say is that's it.
That's all I got. This is what I want you to do for me. I want you to find your nearest Tesla dealership. And I want you to just go online. All you got to do is go to their website and you can schedule what's called a contactless test drive, right? And I want you to try to either drive the Model S Ludicrous, if they have it, or the Model X Ludicrous, or the Model 3 or the Model Y performance. Though the Model 3 and the Model Y are not the fastest they've got. But right now, it's all about the played mode. And you got to understand, when you're talking about these mile rolls, let me tell you, a played mode will go so fast past you in the very beginning until you'll think that you're driving backwards. Because those things, you got to understand, those things are basically always in launch mode for the most part. Now, I understand what you're basically saying the same thing most people are saying. I want to hear a V8 and everything. That's basically what you're saying.
That's what you said.
Okay, yeah, no fun. Me too. I like hearing the V8 too. However, when you factor that against the maintenance costs of drive, like for instance, I went down to Mopar Nationals. I'm actually surprised you didn't go. I went down to Mopar Nationals, and it cost me what at $3.17. It cost me about what was it, $72 to fill up here in Hempstead. Then I drove down there to Pennsylvania, and I filled up again. But down there, gas was $4 a gallon. It cost me $92 to fill up down there for a full tank of fuel. Had I had an electric car, had I had that Tesla, when I drove down there, by the way, I would have had at least 300 miles worth of driving. The total drive from here to Mopar Nationals was 220 miles, right? Had I had one of those Teslas, when I stopped at the rest stop and went to Roy Rogers, there was nobody else there at the superchargers. It was 10 bays open, right? I could have put that car there, went inside, taken a shit, had Roy Rogers, gotten a nice little nap, or not even a nice little nap. I could have gone in there and come out 45 minutes later, the car would have been fully charged. Now, most of the people who are switching up to EVs, and by the way, I know you like Mustangs too, so if you have a chance, go test drive the Ford Mustang, either the GT or the EV Mach-E GT. If you have a chance, try doing that. Make it a trip. Just do something fun. The driving of an electric vehicle, I absolutely love. There's no herky-jerkiness with no transmissions because there is no transmission. It's dead silent. When it comes to handling, the cars have the lowest center of gravity you can get because the battery's near the floor. They turn sharper. They may feel disconnected from the road because they have electric steering, but the thing about it is you can, be in the middle of the road and you can let the damn car drive itself. And I kind of like doing that even with my Jeep because I have adaptive cruise control. When I go on these long road trips, I love doing that because I don't feel like using my foot all the time. So I don't know how you feel about that, but I want you to just try them because most people, they're not ready for it because they've never driven one. They don't understand it. Just try it. And you'll probably still hate it, but I'm just saying, just give it a try.
Yeah, I will definitely. I'm open for that. When I say these things about electric versus gasoline, I'm not like insulting anybody's personal opinion to want to have an electric vehicle. I don't think there's anything wrong with an electric vehicle per se. I just feel like it would be great to still keep an alternative around. And like, for example, an electric vehicle is good, but let's give two scenarios where an electric vehicle is just not really up to par, where they haven't really caught up yet.
Okay.
And that is travel. Let's say you, big truck, are headed to Florida and I'm headed to Florida, and you and I relatively live close to one another. We're only 2 or 3 hours away from each other. Where I used to live, we were only about an hour and a half.
You're like 100 miles away from me, I think. You still live near Atlantic City or something, right?
Yeah, just northwest of there now. I'm closer to you now. But when I used to live upstate Jersey, we were only like 60 miles away from each other, not even. And so if we were to both go to Florida, it'd be relatively the same drive. However, if you took a Tesla P100D or something similar, and I took a Hellcat, I promise you I would get there before you, 100%. There's no way you'd beat me, even if we both went without sleep and just drove as much as we could.
But look what you're saying, without sleep. Listen, I'm lazy. First of all, any distance longer than about 300 miles, I fly. I don't drive those distances. So if I had to go right now tonight from here to Florida, I'm packing my bags and getting on an airplane, and I'll rent a car when I get there. My thing is, everybody who I've run this argument by, they always say that exact same thing. They're like, oh, yeah, well, it takes so long to stop and everything. Who's sitting there and driving 200 and 300 miles in one sitting? I don't do that.
I drive all over the country. And when I do videos and go to Florida, I drive everywhere. And the thing is, with an electric car, you got to stop for, if you empty out your battery, you could be at a gas station at 3 a.m. trying to find one and charging your car for an hour and a half to get a full charge.
Let me help you with that. With Tesla, for example, the route that you're going is programmed into the navigation system. And, just like when you get on Google Maps and you tell it where you're going, what it does is it highlights every single charger along the way, and then the car is constantly monitoring to determine when you should go to the charger. And by the way, because of the possibility of the chargers being full and a lot of people using them, what the car does, what the computer does, is it actually knows who's using the chargers, so it can actually anticipate when you'll get there and whether or not somebody will be using it, or it can tell you exactly where to go in order to charge where there's nobody there. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. I guess that's definitely a plus. I guess
cool.
the only thing that leaves to be desired is the fact that you're still going to be at a gas station for an hour and a half charging, where the guy with gasoline's on the road again.
Here's a question. You have your son and you got your wife. How frequently do they want to stop for either the bathroom or for food or for water or just to get out of the car? How frequently, like when you do a road trip, how frequent, and I know a woman wants to stop. So how frequently does this happen?
I mean,
I've never been in a car with a woman for more than 200 miles and she didn't make me stop either for feminine hygiene reasons or for food or for water.
Yeah, I divorced my crazy ex, but as far as like,
you got divorced, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's a fucking nut job.
I'm very disappointed in her because that day that I drove over there, I was planning to drive that Durango. I'm very disappointed in her.
Yeah, she is a very, very.
How's your son doing? I liked him. How's he doing?
Yeah, my son's doing great. And when I travel with him, he loves the Mustang. He's cute. You should hear him. He's 5 years old now. And he's like, Daddy, I want to drive the Hellcat. And I'm like, well, Daddy doesn't have the Hellcat anymore. And he's like, let's drive the Shelby. Let's get in the Shelby. So he likes to sit in the Shelby and go places with me. And I have a 3-year-old, he's loving cars too. And we travel. I'll take my son 100 miles across New Jersey or New York or go somewhere. And he loves the car. But, if I was to take the kids on vacation, obviously with a kid, it's different. But there's times like Mustang lifestyle. I talked with him and I went to Florida. I drive to Florida because I wanted to bring the Mustang. And I drove the whole trip. If I had an EV vehicle, that would have shaved off 5 or 6 hours from my drive because I would have been stopping for fuel. And to be honest, I'm psycho when it comes to that. I can drive from here to Florida 14 hours straight with very little breaks. I've been doing it my whole life. And for me, personally, an EV vehicle is going to hinder my ability to get where I need to go on a timely basis unless I fly. And I love to drive. I love to travel. I love to drive. I love to be in my vehicle, and I like to go long distances. It's what I enjoy doing. I know I'm not the only one. There's a lot of guys in this country that love to take their Corvettes and their McLarens and their Lamborghinis. They love to travel across the country. I know for a fact I've seen people on road trips. You can't road trip like that in an EV. You have to make up time for it. And I'm not saying it's necessarily the end-all, be-all. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that if I want to go to California and I'm very picky about my time, and all I want to do is drive from here to California and stop when I feel like stopping or I need fuel, I don't want to have to stop and waste an hour charging a battery. I want to stop, get my gas, and hit the road.
I hear what you're saying. I will say this. If I was going to drive from here to Florida, which I've never done before and I probably never will do, there's no way in hell that I would be driving my Jeep that way, because not only because of the mileage that I'd be racking up on it, but on top of that, the fact that fuel costs would be insane. If I had to do that drive, I'd rent a Chrysler Pacifica.
But you know what? Chrysler Pacifica is probably the most comfortable vehicle I've ever ridden. Oh my God.
I did a bunch of videos where I had a Chrysler Pacifica, and I was amazed. I loved it so much. It was so much more comfortable than my Jeep. It was so much more. And by the way, I had the fully loaded one that had the side electric doors. I took my family. We went to Costco. We went shopping, and they loved it too. It was so comfortable. If I had to do that kind of drive, I would want a Chrysler Pacifica that drives itself so I could put it right in the middle lane and just let it just drive all the way to Florida.
Yeah, it's a very good vehicle. The thing is, too, is that it is a gasoline engine. So look at it like that. You've got, a Pacifica that is comfortable, lots of room, great vehicle to drive. And when you stop, you're 5 minutes and you're back on the road. But the key here is not everybody's going to stop for 5 minutes. Some people, like you said, will stop for 15 or 20 or a half an hour. But the thing is, it's one of those cases of I'd rather have it and not need it than not have it. When you're in a Tesla, you have to stop for an hour, hour and a half out of every 4 hours of driving. With a gasoline car, you can stop if you decide you want to, meaning you don't have to, but you get your cake and you get to eat it too. That's the thing. With an electric vehicle, if you're planning on traveling across the country, you are going to waste an hour and a half or an hour out of every 5 hours driving charging. You don't have a choice.
No, and I totally agree with you on that. Now, I don't know if you've ever had a chance to see the Chrysler Pacifica that has the plug-in hybrid. That one actually gets 80 miles to a gallon, right? And I think you've probably noticed that they have the Wrangler 4xe, and they also have the Ram truck that has the e-torque. And they're trying to figure out ways right now how they can basically save energy by making these things with like regenerative braking, basically making them hybrids, right?
Right.
The way I see it, because you got to remember, it's like now, I'm not against them having a gasoline backup generator, because that's one of the ways that they could get around like people's aversions to electric. They can have it be a hybrid, and they could still give you the engine sound. It just wouldn't, like, most of the energy would go into making the sound rather than pouring the fuel, towards the tires, basically. So there's some companies like for instance, Fisker, and they have a gas backup for the car. So this way, if you run out of electric, the gas engine turns on and recharges itself. Like next year, I was considering having my mother trade her XT5 for a Cadillac Lyric, because I'm really excited about it. Like I basically drive all of the electric cars as soon as they come out to test them out. And I get what you're saying. I don't do the road trip thing, as I was saying, but if I did, I'd probably have a minivan doing it. So if I really felt like taking a nap, I could stretch out. I could take a really good nap and this, that, and other. Damn near, I could get in the back and camp out in the back of that thing because it's so big, But I get what you're saying, though. I do get you. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and it's just like that situation where people like to have options. That's all.
Now, this person, let me just say this. This person, Drew Olson, he says, what are they going to do about semis? Now, I don't know if you know this, but Tesla has an electric semi-truck. And pre-orders have been pretty strong for it from Walmart and a couple of other companies. But they have electric semi-trucks, and the semi-trucks are not only faster, but they're more comfortable because, they're not worried about gas and oil and all that shit. They're quieter, softer, comfortable, and you're going to see a lot of electric semis very soon.
Yeah, I mean, that is crazy because, in my opinion, diesel is the best way to go for fuel mileage for heavy vehicles. For example, my Duramax weighs 7,800 pounds. It's got an 8-inch lift on 35s, and it's staggered, and it's negative 44 offset. I have a friend that has a very similar truck. It's not 100% identical, but it's a 7-inch lift, and he's got 37s on it, or 38s, but it's very similar. He has the 6.2, I think that's in that. It's the gasoline V8. He gets like 7 on the highway, maybe 8. I get like 20. So diesel is very reliable. You get very high fuel mileage for what you're towing and what the weight is. It's much more efficient than gasoline, which is why I think that diesel Golf that was out a few years ago, we was getting like 36 miles per gallon or something like that. And the 4-cylinder one, I think, was getting 26. That's before not including hybrids. We're just talking straight engine here. So diesel gets better gas mileage. For a semi to have an electric battery and to have the same power, longevity, is going to be tough because diesel is very, very efficient. And let me clear something up for anybody who tries to argue this. Diesel is extremely, clean for the environment compared to gasoline. That's soot. Now, I'll tell you, first, let me tell you where my experience comes. My dad drove an 18-wheeler for 57 years. I grew up around them. At 16 years old, I could drive an 18-wheeler with a 12 and 14 speed transmission. Most of them had Allisons. I've driven Pete's. I've driven Freightliners. I've driven Volvo. I had a Volvo with my dad. I've driven the old Fords. I've had Mack trucks. I've done them all. I grew up around them for 25 years as a kid. From age 5 all the way to 30, I was in and out of rigs. Diesel is clean. When you see that black smoke come out of a diesel exhaust, that shit does not go in the environment. It's heavy. It's particles. It sinks on the ground within 5 to 10 seconds. That shit settles on the ground. It is not bad for the environment. Like gasoline.
But you got to understand, diesel is also higher in nitrous oxide, right? The reason why our cars have catalytic converters is to stop the nitrous oxide from getting into the atmosphere, right? But those particles, they've already said those particles have got to go because of the asthma. Now, I understand what you're saying, that the particles are heavy, but what about the ones that are small enough that they actually linger? They're trying to get rid of diesel. And once these electric semis, once these hit prime time, diesel's dead.
Yeah, can you imagine the trucking industry? This is where it's going. You got a guy that needs to make a 14-hour run and his battery's dead in 3 hours. That's going to make more time to wait. Shipping cost goes up.
But think about it for the trucker's point of view. That means that he gets to rest. That means he has more time to enjoy the lot lizards. That means he has more time to go to the diner. Think about it. See, the thing about it is nobody sees the benefits of this.
Yeah,
the trucker might want to rush, but now you're going to get mandatory rest. It's just like these Uber drivers with these Tesla Model 3s and Model Ys. These guys basically make their own time. But the thing about it is, while that car's charging, they get to take a break. And they get to take a nice long break, too. An hour, maybe 2.
Yeah, I agree with that to a certain degree. But the problem is the trucker's going to get a break. He's going to get paid break. He's going to make the same money, maybe more. But guess what that means? It means we are going to have to pay higher shipment costs. The market values will go up. Minimum wage is not going up, which means the cost of living goes up. The cost of shipping goes up. Everything's going to go up, but paying and payments and income won't go up. And I think that is something we need to think about. And not only that, I'll tell you what I think is the best car on the planet. You want to say green? You want to be green for the environment?
What's that?
The Toyota Prius. You can't beat it. It can go from here to Florida, and all you got to do is stop, throw $50 in, and you get 600 miles for $30 in a tank. It gets 65 miles per gallon. I have a Prius. No Tesla, no electric EV vehicle will ever, in my opinion, be better than a Toyota Prius.
Yeah, but
it's
you
reliable.
can only fit like 3 people into a Prius plus the driver. A Pacifica can get 80 miles to a gallon, and you can fit a whole damn family of 7. So
yeah, but the new Camry,
efficient?
The new Camry can fit 5 people. It's a big sedan, and it's got 65 miles per gallon hybrid 2.4, 2.0. I think that's in that. I can't remember, but it's a hybrid assist, just like the Prius. I have a Prius.
When you say 5 people, you mean 5 skinny people. The question, the Pacifica can get 6 of me in there, possibly even a 7th. That's efficiency.
I just think that when you really come down to it, I own a Prius, so I'm speaking from an owner who's had a Prius and who owns a hybrid. I've owned this vehicle for 3 years, and I can tell you, I have never been so satisfied with a $5,000 car purchase. I took it to Florida and back. 5,000-mile round trip cost me $100 in fuel, and I never had to stop to charge it. The gasoline engine charges it itself. In my opinion, electric vehicles will never be able to give you the flexibility of a hybrid.
Look at this chat. It says, while the truck is being unloaded at the distribution centers, that's when they're charging it.
Yeah, that will make sense. But what if your distribution center is 9 hours from where you're picking up and the battery's dead before you get there?
Well, I don't think the battery will go completely dead, because keep in mind, the computer software won't allow you to reach critical. It will always direct you to the nearest charger to make it so that you do not reach critical while you're on the road.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I look at this from a different standpoint because I grew up in a family that traveled the country on trucks.
All right.
And nothing is better than knowing that you got a diesel engine that can literally idle for hours and hours. You can have an 18 wheeler with a Pete engine. Like you can have that shit idle for 20 straight years if you keep fueling it and it'll be reliable as hell. Not to mention you can keep the heater on, the AC on, you can sleep in the bunk. With an electric vehicle, how long can you run the AC before the battery dies? How far can you go before the battery dies? You know, I remember a time back in the 80s when I was a young lad and my dad was driving and I went on a trip with him. There was no logs. There was no mandatory sleep. My dad had a 10-hour run and my dad took the 10-hour run and drove straight there in 10 hours, made mad money, came right back. 20 hours we were in our bed and they called that a 30-something hour run. We did it in 20. You can't do that anymore. The trucking industry is going down and it's not the same as it was when I was growing up. And it's sad. And I don't know. I feel like a hybrid is the ultimate way. Like look at the Prius, for example. You're going to get 50, 60, 70, sometimes 80 miles per gallon. But then you have the option to have a hybrid performance vehicle. Imagine a twin turbo Charger or Challenger. Just imagine a twin turbo and it's making 400 horsepower, 500 horsepower, but it's getting 40 miles per gallon, 30 miles per gallon. Now you add the hybrid assist motor, you're getting 45, 50 miles per gallon in that car, but it still has 500 horsepower and you have an engine. If they would to put a little bit of, development into what Toyota's doing, because to be honest, I think Toyota was way ahead of everybody in this department. They've been building hybrids for 25 years.
But you know what you're saying? You're also saying that there's going to be more parts. A Toyota hybrid has more parts than an EV that's the equivalent in size. So when you have less parts, let's think about it like this. First of all, your brakes last longer because instead of you actually braking, you're using regenerative braking most of the time. Most of these cars are so that all you got to do is take your foot off the pedal. The car comes to a dead stop because, see, that's the problem. You got to drive one of these things. They have what's called creep mode, and then they have what's called regular mode, right? So you can choose how much regenerative braking you want. But for the most part, what they're trying to also do is get rid of the number of parts that they're using. A hybrid has a lot of parts, number one. It has more parts than an EV. That's number one. True. Number two, obviously, you're not getting rid of the fact that you still are in some ways reliable on gas. I don't have a problem with gas backup generators. It's just that for the extra complexity and parts, they've already basically proven that EV makes more sense.
Yeah, I mean, EV definitely for that aspect is better. And I know that eventually gasoline engines at some point or another is going to be completely dead. And I get it. I get it. I really do. But I think what's happening here is that people are complaining about what they don't like about the EV, but then the people who do like the EV are trying to justify it any way they can. But the reality is, I mean, I'm not against EV. I'm against EV eliminating gasoline. EV as an option should be there. But the thing is no matter how much you like EV, it will never give you the flexibility that gasoline will. It just won't. Gasoline is like a dog in your yard with a fenced-in yard, and an EV is a dog on a leash. I don't give a shit if it's a 100-foot leash. He is confined to that leash. You can confuse them and manipulate and brainwash that person to think he's free. If your yard is only 100 by 100 and you give him a 100-foot leash, he's going to think he's free to roam wherever he wants, and he very well is, but you have a virtual leash on them. It does not matter how much you think it's freedom. It is not.
Well, I want you to think back though. Maybe okay, let's say that I go with what you're saying and say, yeah, EV and electric vehicles, that is a leash that's on the car. Let's say that's a 100-foot leash. Thing about it is, gas is like a 300-foot leash. Have you forgotten how Hurricane Sandy went for us? Where we were desperate just to get a damn gallon of gas because not only were the gas stations, the pumps had all shut down, we didn't have any gas whatsoever because everything shut down. And I'll tell you this, I waited in a gas station. I waited for over 8 hours for the truck to come in to fill them up so that I could get just a full tank of gas, right? Now, Had I had that Tesla when we went through Hurricane Sandy, I would have had no issues whatsoever. Now, granted, this may not be the be all end all for everybody. Definitely not. I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying that for people, let's say that you drive 60 miles a day. Let's say you drive up to 100 miles a day, because I actually have a cousin, and he drives from New York City to Pennsylvania. He does a round trip to his job of 220 miles every time he goes to his job. And he was doing this round trip in a Charger Scat Pack. So you can imagine what his fuel costs are. But if somebody like him, who had to drive up to about 200 miles for a round trip to work, had an EV, and they have a house, they've got a charger at home, energy would be a non-issue for him. Now, if you need a road trip, you could always do what I'm saying and say, listen, I'm going to get a Pacifica minivan, and I'll pile into the minivan. I can get all my stuff in the minivan. I don't even need a cargo pod on top of it. Because you probably noticed a lot of people have cargo pods on top of the SUVs because they don't have much third row space. But that's the way I'd go. Because me personally, I would love to have a used Pacifica. I'd get one of those Pacifica S's with the all-wheel drive. I'd be able to use it all the time.
Yeah, I think that what you're saying does make total sense. I mean, it does. And I'm not against it completely either. You know, some people might think that I'm completely against it, but I'm not. I just hope that we allow ourselves to have options. That's all. If that means that for every gasoline powered car we have 9 available alternatives that are EV, that's fine, as long as we have a gasoline alternative or a hybrid alternative. So people like me who need to travel across the country or want to at least have an option. The only thing that I'm against is eliminating hybrid and gasoline completely to where the only option is electric. To me, that's not good, because that's like anything else. What if people said, you're a gamer, Big Truck, I know you like video games. What if someone said NVIDIA, we're trying to shut NVIDIA down, so you have to buy an AMD video card? That's monopolization. Like, don't monopolize the fuel sources. Like, I think there should be options. I don't think there should ever in life on anything only be one option, because that ruins everything. If NVIDIA was to go bankrupt, AMD would not succeed as good as they would with competition. Everything is more successful in life with competition. Options are good. Telling someone who builds computers that NVIDIA is gone and you have to use AMD, Intel is dead, you now must use AMD, we're going to phase Intel out. That doesn't make sense. Phasing gasoline out, we're only going electric. That doesn't make sense. 90% of the decisions there, are 80%, I would say a high amount of them that we make as a society, we go back to. Like, for example, people try to evolve, right? We evolve into better technology, but then we always end up going back in hindsight to retro and now wanting more of it. Like right now, you can, as you being a gamer, right now, there's games out for Nintendo 64 that people haven't even heard of that are worth more money than games today. 4 times the amount. And it's old shit. Like, look at the 1970 Challenger. Those are worth $200,000-$300,000. They're 10 times more than today's cars. So every time we evolve, 20 years later, we're like, oh shit, well, I kind of wish we still had that. If people think that in 30 years, we're not going to look back and wish we had it, they're lying. Every person today that has evolved, or as a society we evolve, we always look back at what we used to have and wish we still had it. And I like how your guy in your chat says I'm off my rocker. I didn't realize that he was like a world expert on currency exchange.
Honestly,
and automotive industry.
I'm not sure which one of us he's talking about. He may be talking about you, but
yeah.
No, well, see, if you start using StreamYard, you're going to get a lot of that. That's why you have to basically make yourself moderators, so that the moderators can say, yeah, I'll eliminate personal attacks. Yeah, no, chat, let's keep it respectful, please. But no, listen, I hear what you're saying, but you know what? That exact same argument has been made against the manual versus the automatic. And people like, oh, well, where have all the manuals gone? The manuals went away because of economics. More and more families had to share a single car, and it was important for the whole family to be able to drive the car. So if somebody didn't know how to drive a manual, chances were the family was going to end up buying an automatic Furthermore, they were probably going to end up in an SUV, and most SUVs do not have manuals because it's so difficult for them to actually put one in and to make profit off of them because they want to keep their SKUs as simple as possible. They want to keep their number of parts down. So I understand. No, I do understand what you're saying, but 40, 50 years from now, all of these things are going to be electric. The only cars that are probably still going to exist are going to be classics for the most part that are gas. Trucks that are diesel will probably stick around for a little while, but it's going to be so ridiculously expensive to own these things. Do you realize, like in Europe, gas is like damn near $10 a gallon? So it's just going to be so ridiculously expensive just to own these things.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. A lot of people, anybody who defends the things that we're talking about are just people who are just, brainwashed into believing that it's the end all be all perfect future. And unfortunately, it's not. Once gasoline engines are completely dead and we're fully reliant on electric, there's going to be a lot of people that did want EV that decided they no longer want it and it's not working for them. That's the one thing about human nature. People are never satisfied. They want something, and as soon as they get it, they no longer want it. I will sit here and guarantee you, in 5 years from now, I'll be doing a podcast or a live stream somewhere where people are going to be coming in saying they wanted an electric vehicle, they supported it, but now they wish they hadn't. That's the way that people are. They truly want something until it happens, and then once it happens and they have no alternative or no choice, then they change their mind. It happens. And, that's why options are good. It's good to have EV, but it's also good to have options. Anybody who disagrees with having options is making no sense, because why would you want to have no options? It does not make sense. 20% of EV buyers go back to gasoline. That could be true. I don't know for sure, but it very well could be true. It's probably higher than that, to be honest. And the thing is that human nature always wants what's new. But then when you get it, you get burnt out of it, you get tired of it, and eventually, it may take 5 years, it may take 10, it may only take 6 months. Eventually, people get tired of it. That's the thing. So when EV takes over, 10 years after it takes over, you're going to have a bunch of whining, complaining, crying people. Well, I wish they had kept the an option for gasoline. I wish gasoline wasn't dead because my dad had a gasoline-powered car when I was a kid. He had a Hellcat, and I wished we had. It's coming. That's the way human nature is.
All right, let me address this question right here. Auto Man Dan says, "Is Big Truck for real? How the fuck would have made a difference?" See, here's the issue with that as well. If the gas station has no gas and the electricity is out, then how do you charge your car? So let me take you all back to something that y'all didn't experience, but me and Corey and I experienced. During Hurricane Sandy, there was flooding that knocked out the electricity to the pumps for gasoline in New Jersey. Therefore, the ships were not able to fill with gasoline or oil, heating oil, to bring to the extents of Long Island, New York. Now, other areas had gasoline, like Connecticut. They had no problem because Hurricane Sandy affected mostly the coast, right? Now, my house never lost electricity. The electricity at my house wasn't knocked out because I didn't live in that part of New Jersey. But I had the option at that point. If I had an electric vehicle, I could have charged my car. If I had a Tesla back then, I could have charged my car. However, at that time, I had a Chrysler 300 SRT. Getting gasoline for that thing, I think I only had a quarter of a tank left. I risked driving to the gas station at 5 o'clock a.m. or 4 o'clock a.m., and I sat there for 7 or 8 hours waiting for the gas station to open just so I could try to get a tank of gas. In fact, I made videos during Hurricane Sandy to show how the gas situation was, and it was so bad that people were literally trying to put gas in milk jugs so that they could carry the shit around until the city and the state said, no, you can't do that. These people were literally doing that. That's how bad it was. So what I'm saying is, what Corey's saying, electric vehicles may present you with a leash, But gas is also a leash too if you can't find a working gas station for whatever reason. So my thing is, it kind of makes sense to have the best of both worlds. Now, as far as Corey's point about people getting bored with something and thinking they wanted it just because it's new, I am going to probably lease that car. I'll do a short-term lease, whatever makes sense, whatever's cheapest, whatever the insurance is okay with, and I'll lease it. If I like it, maybe I'll keep it. If I don't, I won't keep it. Fair enough?
Yeah. I think that is good. It's always good to try stuff out. Like I said, people are creatures of habit, and they are going to always complain, and you're always going to have people dissatisfied, which is where my whole argument comes into play of options. As long as there are options available, everybody will be happy, or most people. The issue at hand is that, people are going to be very pissy eventually about something. That's just the way it is. Someone's always going to complain. They're always going to be upset about it. And, I know we're talking about something that's probably not going to happen till about 2030, 2035, because we're not going to be basically axing out gasoline cars in 2024. They're going to start phasing slowly. Like, you're probably still going to be able to buy a Mustang V8 or a V8 and a Camaro till probably 2030, 2028. Because they're going to produce them till a bare minimum of 2026. So I'm going to be able to go to the dealership, and so can you guys, until 2026 bare minimum, and buy an SS Camaro or a GT Mustang. And we're still going to be able to do that for the next 5 years. So we're not talking about killing off gasoline engine today. It's going to be like in the next maybe 6 to 8 years. So we're not really going to have to worry about it as much, because most of us now are probably 20, 30 years old. We're going to be pushing 40 or 50 before that really happens. But the problem is our children, they'll complain about it eventually.
Well, I don't think the gas engine is going anywhere for at least 50 years. Our children most likely are going to end up driving electric cars, but gasoline vehicles will still be around.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be around for a while. But the thing is, I think the V8s, the high-powered V8s, will probably be completely
those are
dead.
gone. Yeah, those are gone.
Yeah, 2030.
I mean, considering, see, the thing about it is, besides bragging rights and show-off ability, the V6s with the 8-speed, even like if you look at what you got right now, the Chrysler V6s with the 8-speed are giving you what? Basically 300 horsepower. GM has put the same 3.6-liter V6 in just about everything they have, including my mom's XT5. I've driven her XT5. It's actually pretty comfortable, and I like the fact that she can use regular unleaded, and I like driving her car. They put that same engine in just about everything. The problem comes when they need to put an engine in something heavier. So when you need a heavy, big truck, like I just came back from Chrysler looking at the Wagoneer, the Grand Wagoneer. If you're talking about something that weighs 6,000 pounds and carries like 8 people or something like that, yeah, you're definitely going to want a V8. Those are going to be around for a long time. And the reason why, you got to remember, trucks are they're not held to the same standards that the cars are. So you pay those massive gas guzzler taxes on the cars, but most of the trucks and SUVs that are in a different weight class, they escape those CAFE laws. Like, if I'm not mistaken, I think the TRX doesn't have the gas guzzler tax on it, but the Charger does. And I think they were charging like $2,100, because I looked at the sticker just the other day, in fact. So trucks are going to be around for a long time. SUVs are going to be around for a long time. But when very few of us are spending $100,000 to buy something that size, right?
Yeah, and I agree with a lot of things.
Escalades, Navigators, Wagoneers, those are only going to be like what? Less than 10% of all of the cars sold from those companies? Less than 10? Yeah. Less than 10?
Yeah, I agree. I also agree with Joshua Chaos in your chat. People are jumping absolutely nuts for full electric, but yet the infrastructure has a long way to go before it's viable. I agree 100%.
See, you know what? Let me just address that point too. Just as I point out, I drove down to Pennsylvania, right? Tesla had its own supercharger station, but if you go to just about any of these college campuses, they have charges on these campuses. Now, all of those charges were empty. Now, if somebody wanted to come to them, they could have come to it and they could have charged their car no problem, and they wouldn't have had to wait for somebody else to get out of the way. But when you're saying the infrastructure has a long way to go, I want you to understand something. Even right behind me, I'm running an air conditioning unit right now because it's like 80 something degrees out there, right? All the appliances in this house right here, because I have more than one house, all of these appliances are electric. My dryer's electric. My stove is electric. If I brought a car that was electric here right now, all I got to do is run the cable outside, and I've got step 2 charging right there. I don't even need to have it built into the house because I already basically have it because all my appliances are electric. So anybody who has a garage, chances are they have a 220 in the garage or 240. So most of the people who will buy these cars, they've already solved their infrastructure issue because they have a garage or they have a job where there's charging at the job. We have chargers right around where I live. So this is not as big a problem as some people try to make it.
No, I mean, I just think that, I think we are just moving, obviously. Well, let me rephrase that. I don't think that the industry is trying to necessarily move too fast. I think people are just jumping on board too quickly. And I think I think what he says has some merit, mainly for the simple fact of, at the speed and the rate at which it's going to be viable. Totally and honestly, in my opinion, I don't think EV is going to completely take over everything as being the only source of travel for probably 20 years, 15, 20 years at least. And I don't know if it's a bandwagon for some people or if they just saw Tesla, putting out that series of fast cars they've been doing over the last year and a half, 2 years, or a little more than that now. But they see that and they think that everything electrical is just going to be like really fast and, it's going to be the way to go. I think the days for fast electric vehicles are numbered too.
I agree with you. And if you even look right now at the performance Teslas, all of those cars cost over $100,000. Now, what I will say is the Model 3 and the Model Y are basically under the cost of a typical Hellcat. They're between $50,000 and $60,000. But these really, really fast electric cars, the government isn't going to allow people to be driving around like 80 and 90 miles an hour. The speed limit still applies. So, you can drive at 80 or 70 when your state allows it. Like if you're in Texas or if you're on the New Jersey Turnpike and they allow you to go 85. But most people who drive these cars, they're not hypermiling them because they're trying to save as much energy as they can. Just
Right.
like me. I'm not driving at 150 miles an hour, number one, because it's illegal. But number two, if I drove at 150 miles an hour, all I'm going to do is empty out my gas tank every, 30 miles?
Yeah, right.
You got to remember, when you're driving that fast, your miles per gallon goes down significantly. So if you're driving at 100, I read a stat. They said, I think it was for every mile per hour you go over 60 miles per hour or 55 miles per hour, you're like losing like 3 to 5% more fuel. Now, I have an engine that is so inefficient that I'm sure for me, it's even higher. For every mile per hour I go over the speed limit, I'm probably losing about 6 to 7, maybe even 10% of my fuel. Or it might not be 10%. It's probably like 3 or 5 or something like that. So one of the reasons why they have a 55 mile per hour speed limit, besides just giving you tickets, is because they're also trying to promote fuel efficiency. And if they make everybody slow down, then that justifies in some people's minds the fact that they have a 4-cylinder. They're like, well, I don't really need a really powerful engine because I'm not allowed to drive faster than 55 anyway. So all I need to be able to do is get to highway speeds as quickly as possible. After that, I'm just coasting below 60 miles an hour.
Yeah. I think that people see these Teslas and they're like, wow, they're so fast and they're electric and it's free gas. And they don't seem to like really understand that it's kind of like dangling cheese in front of a mouse. They see the speed, but I think they're trying to sell us on electric with all this speed and the government's going to strap down like they did on gasoline. And we're going to start having it's going to be 1972 all over again. We're going to have these shitbox electric cars that are slow as dog shit. There's no engine. There's no sportiness, and we're without gasoline engines now. So now we're stuck with a shitbox that's not fast. There's like nothing left except it's just an electric car now. And I think all the people right now that think that electric is faster than gas and think it's the way to go in 10 or 15 years down the road when the government straps it on and that's it, and there's no more electric performance, now what? What about all the people that only switch to electric just because it's faster than gasoline and it's now no longer faster? There's no longer any performance. Now what?
I want you to go test drive some of these cars, because the thing you got to understand is electric cars are actually faster off the line because they have instantaneous torque.
Yeah.
So I'll say it like this: short of a performance 4-cylinder or a performance 6-cylinder, an electric car is actually faster to 60 in general than most of the 4 and the 6 cylinders, with the exception of a performance 4 or 6 cylinder. So we can't really get to the point where an electric car is ever quote unquote slow. If the government has a speed limit that's saying 60 miles per hour or 55 miles per hour, and you could go out and pick the slowest electric car you can get, which as far as I've seen was the Volkswagen ID4, because I drove that. And even that feels more comfortable when driving, and it feels quicker than your average 4-cylinder. And that's the slowest one I can point out. I drove the Kia Niro. The Kia Niro, in my opinion, was the perfect economy electric car, but it still costs like $50,000. With the competition, you're going to get more range. You're going to get larger vehicles or more spacious family vehicles. But ultimately, it's going to be more range. And if people complain about speed, they'll just make them slightly faster.
Yeah, I agree. I have certain points that I stand by, but I can see exactly what you're saying. I don't know. I feel like we're going to get slapped in the face. I feel like all this performance from electric is great, but I think eventually we're going to end up in a spot where gasoline's dead, electric's the only way, and they strap the boot down on us. And now we have no performance left for electric. Now we're stuck with 16-second electric cars and have no alternative anymore. However, the only thing that we have going for us for options at this point in time is the gasoline conglomerate industry, the big, huge companies like JP Morgan and Chase. JP Morgan started out drilling oil. People think that Chase Bank is just a bank. JP Morgan and Chase is one of the eldest families in the world. It's money on money. One of the founding godfathers of money in the world, and probably the richest company, if not one of them. JP Morgan is an oil driller, a big conglomerate oil company, and there's a lot of them. Do we think that these oil companies are going to allow the government to force electric? Probably not. It's going to take a while. These guys have a lot of power and a lot of money, and the government's not going to be able to force them out completely. I have high hopes that the oil companies are going to fight for this long enough that we don't, gasoline lovers like myself won't have to fully worry about an EV takeover, and maybe an EV takeover won't happen. Maybe 5-6 years down the road, they fight so hard, the electric stops. We never know. You can't predict the future. Money is always going to be the controlling factor of everything. And I mean, at the end of the day, whoever has more money controls everything. So we still have to think about what's going to happen with the gasoline companies that have all this money. What's going to happen with that? Are they going to let this happen? Are they going to fight it?
You got to remember, I bought a lot of oil stocks from different oil companies. The thing you got to remember is oil companies are diversified. They're not about oil anymore because they know that doesn't help their image. So what they did was they've diversified towards green technology and all that other stuff. So instead of just being considered an oil company, they want to be considered an energy company. So My thing is, the gas companies aren't going anywhere. All they're going to do is they're going to change. Like, for instance, the mining companies that mine for oil, all they're going to do is switch over to mining for metals to make these batteries. That's all. And they'll just retool using the same skills, or as people age out, they'll simply pull those people into new jobs, basically, in order to just mine for something else. You know,
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It makes sense.
because
And
those oil companies are mostly diverse. It's just like BP. They call themselves Beyond Petroleum for a reason.
yeah, I hear what you're saying. Um, I agree with some of the comments, especially where did that comment go? There was a comment here that I loved, but I can't find it now. I don't know where the heck it is. Oh man. It was hilarious.
What
Let me
was
see if
that?
I can find it. Going to be getting speeding tickets sent right to your infotainment system. I hope you guys love driving your Teslas because every time you're speeding, it's going to go right to your screen. I guarantee you cops are going to be able to send speeding tickets to the infotainment system in the coming years.
Guess what? You got to remember, most of these cars are going to have self-driving technology. A robot cannot break the law. The robot will adhere to the speed limit. Like, for instance, I was driving a Tesla. I had my cousins in it, and I was showing them that while it's driving, that thing actually obeys the lights. Like, it can see the red and green lights, and the thing will stop at the red light, and it will go after the red light's over, while it's also scanning the traffic around. See, my thing is, let me tell you something. I deal with traffic so much, I don't even like driving. See, you live in New Jersey where you have like nice open roads for the most part. I don't like driving at this point. To me, it's a hassle.
Man, having a robot drive your car.
Yeah, well, every
I
now
mean,
and then I like turning it on, but I'll tell you this, I can't get a speeding ticket.
I mean, the thing is that now when you are speeding, when you're driving your car, now you're going to be getting, the cops are going to know where you are. By driving these electric cars, the police are going to know where you are. They're going to have, if you don't think, they're going to have technology to track every Tesla, every electric car, where they are. They no longer have to speed trap. They no longer have to sit on the side of the road. They can sit at the police precinct on it. I guarantee you at some point, they're going to have technology to sit at the precinct or in their car in a parking lot, eating donuts and watching a screen, and it's going to show Big Truck Series Review is doing 90 miles an hour down Garden State Parkway.
They have that now. They have that now.
And they're going to call somebody that says, hey, are you over there close to where this guy is? Go pull him over. He's right now. We've got proof he's doing it. Even if it takes you 30 minutes, meet him at his house and give him a ticket or send it to his infotainment system.
But they have that now.
It's
they
lost.
They have those cameras. They have cameras with radar on them.
I know, but it's going to be worse. Now the cops are going to know you're speeding. They're going to send it right to your screen or meet you at your house and say 3 hours ago you were doing 90 to 70. Here's your ticket. Our freedom is going out the window. Just like phone tapping.
Hold on. Your car. What cars do you have right now?
Prius, GT350, Duramax, and I've got 2 cars I bought for the channel that I'm lazy and still have not edited a video on.
And if I'm not mistaken, each one of those cars has like a navigation system in it. And they have like cellular networking for the most part, so they can track you now. They can
track. Yeah, but they can't track you to the way they're going to be tracking you. What I mean by tracking is that the police are going to have a direct link to Tesla or technology to Tesla's cars to actually watch everywhere you go, every speed you do, the amount of people in your car, the condition of your car, the electronic systems in your car, and they're going to be able to shut your fucking car down while you're driving. The cops,
you realize Uconnect can do that, right? And so can GM, right? They can do that right now.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. But all we're doing is we're taking the power that they have and giving them more of it. We are losing our freedom at every turn.
All right, so now it's about freedom.
It's about everything. Freedom, choice, everything. We're going in a direction where we...
Those dudes who live off the grid, for instance, because they claim they don't want the government around them and everything, these guys who get solar panels built onto their houses in the middle of nowhere in Mexico and shit, they'll be able to charge these cars using the solar panels.
Yeah, well, let's take this for a theory right now. I'll go get my GT350 Mustang right now, and I'll go flying down Garden State Parkway right now, and we'll see if my car gets shut off remotely. We both know it won't. But if you do that in a couple years in a Tesla, we know it will. There's a big difference between where we are now and where we're going. Nobody's shutting off Hellcats on the highway. When was the last time you saw a YouTube video on someone going down the road speeding in a Hellcat and their car got remote shut off by the police? Never. But I guarantee you, in 5 or 8 years, some guy in his Tesla P6000D with 1700 horsepower that does quarter mile in 7 seconds, guaranteed somewhere something similar to that. He's going to be on the highway doing 90 miles an hour or even 70 in a 50, and the cops are going to shut his car off. That is not freedom. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, but it's also illegal and dangerous, though.
It is, but we are giving up our freedoms. As automotive enthusiasts, we are. That's the facts. We're giving full control. And while you say that's safe, it's also unsafe in other aspects. We already know there's police officers in this world that abuse their power. Now these police officers are going to be able to shut your fucking car off. They're going to see who's in your car. They're going to be able to access the cameras in your car to see your face and what you're doing and what you're eating and where you're going and where you live. Cops are going to have a one-way ticket into your entire life. And guess what? For everybody out there who's been a target of bad police brutality, you are fucked. And that's the reality of it.
Yeah, but the way it works now is they chase your car down and they start shooting at you until they either kill you or destroy the car. That's how it works now.
I'm 100% against police brutality, and I'm 100% against crooked, police and all that shit. And whether it's illegal or not illegal, everybody needs to understand that in the future, police are going to be able to control and know every last thing about you just by driving your car. Right now, if I go get in my GT350 and a cop pulls me over, he doesn't know who I am. Why do you think they walk up and ask you for license and registration? They don't have to ask you that if they already knew who you were. They're asking that because they don't know who you are. In 10 years, they're not going to ask you for your license and registration. They're going to walk up behind you and say, "Get out of the car, Jim. You're 61 years old. You have 6 DUIs, and I saw you flick a cigarette out your window, and you've got your phone under your butt because the camera in your car shows it. You also have a food bag, and you've got marijuana under your seat because we can detect it on the car and the computer. Get out. You're now under arrest. And by the way, your wife sat in your car exactly 26 minutes ago for 30 seconds straight at a parking lot you were at your job." They're going to be able to track your entire fucking life. No privacy. That's bullshit.
But once again, they could do that now. And by the way, when they pull you over, they know who the car is registered to as soon as they run your plate. The reason why they ask you for your license and registration is because they're checking to see, number one, do you have it? And number two, they're trying to establish a contact situation. So
true.
Because like, for instance, if they ask for your license and registration, you can tell them, "Yeah, officer, I ain't got my wallet on me, but I can give you my social security number." And all they're going to do is take that and look it up.
No, I agree with what you're saying, but the difference is we're going from, a 7 to a 10 or a 6 to a 10. They're doing that now, but we're just giving them more of it, making it easier and giving them more quantity of info. It's going to get worse is what I'm saying. Just because it's bad doesn't mean it's not going to get worse.
I would say you're making it more complicated for them.
No, the only way,
because you got to remember, if even think about all this technology, right? A lot of police departments aren't going to be able to keep up with all this stuff because, as you know, a lot of police departments, they don't have brand new cars. They're using old Crown Victorias and they're using Taurus. They don't even have Taurus shows, and that's right now. Like, for instance, you remember when that Challenger Hellcat was running from the police and the helicopter? And the thing was doing like 200 something miles an hour and they couldn't catch it.
Yeah.
They caught it when it ran out of gas. But my thing is, imagine how much endangering that person did. Now, he pulled it off flawlessly. But in the future, there's not going to be any high-speed chases. If a cop wants to pull you over, if you have broken the law, they're just going to do a kill switch on you and they're going to pull you right over. That might actually be better because the problem that we have is you got these motherfuckers who refuse to stop. And you got these people who will run from the law and everything. All that does is endanger everybody else. So in the long run, you're losing some of those freedoms and everything. Bottom line is you ain't got no right to run. Driving's a privilege. It's not a right.
Oh, I agree with that. And I agree with someone on the highway endangering people should get shut down. But I'm talking about abuse of power and excessive force, which we already have a problem with now. If you give somebody with excessive force, brutality, and abuse of power more power, what are they going to do? There's got to be rules and regulations to intervene this technology so that you don't have citizens that are law-abiding citizens that are getting abused by the system. For example, a guy doing 60 and a 50 or 65 and a 55 shouldn't have his car shut off. He also should not have his privacy invaded. People say phones do that now. No, they don't. Your cell phone doesn't give someone a camera image view of your entire car. It doesn't tell people what you're doing. Like it doesn't, it just shows GPS where you are. I'm talking about the technology of where a police officer is going to monitor everywhere you've been, who's been in your car, see a live feed to the car, be able to shut the car off. That's all well and good if there's rules and regulations that say the only way a car can be shut off by law enforcement is if he's excessively speeding, breaking the law, and or a criminal.
Exactly.
But we're going to have abuse of power. It's going to happen.
Well, you know what? On your point, let me say this. China started regulating heavily against Tesla because, as you know, Teslas have cameras in them, right? So China was worried that government officials who are driving Teslas, since a lot of them see Tesla as a status symbol, they were worried that the Teslas sending information back to Tesla could be a threat to national security. Now, as we already know here, we've had numerous court cases, just like with Easy Pass, just like with OnStar. We've had numerous court cases about abuse of power when it comes to privacy. We've already had those cases, right?
Right.
Now, here's the thing. You're talking about the excess. You're talking about somebody who's speeding dangerously and being shut down or in a kill switch. The thing about it is, if you drive one of these cars, a lot of these cars, just like how a Charger had the valet mode and I think some of the GM cars had a mode where you could govern automatically the car, so you could set it so that it won't go beyond 70 or something like that. Electric cars, they know what the speed limit is. When you go over the speed limit, the thing actually lights up in red and says, yeah, you're even our cars do that. The Hellcats do that. The Jeep SRTs do it with the Uconnect. They know when you're going over the speed limit because they know the zone they're in, right? They don't have to shut you off. They can just govern your speed based on the area. A lot of those European foreign cars have governors for a couple of reasons. Number one, because the tires won't last at certain speeds and it becomes dangerous. And number two, some of those cars unlock themselves when they know that they're on a track. So if you try to track one of those cars, the track mode will come on. But if you try to use track mode when you're in the regular street, it won't come on. So if you want to take it to the extreme, yeah, you can take it to the extreme, but they don't have to go that far. They can automatically govern you. So they don't have to take it to the extreme.
Yeah, I hear you. I know they're not supposed to, and there's laws that prevent it, but it's just uncharted territory. That's the problem. The issue with human beings is when you give them power and they abuse it, you give them more power, they're going to have more abuse. And there's been a lot of police brutality and abuse in the last 10 to 15 years.
Oh, yeah.
And I guarantee you when electric vehicles start to take over like they will in 10, 15 years, who are the first people you're going to have BLM and the LGBT community, everybody out there doing their thing again in 15 years saying the police shut this guy's car down and he crashed and died because of it. There's never going to be an end to it because people crave one thing. Power.
Power. Okay. And by the way, to your point, you said there's been a lot of police brutality over the last 10 to 15 years. That's not correct. There's been a lot of police brutality through the history of policing. The difference is that thanks to iPhone and having 4K cameras in everybody's pocket and then having YouTube where we can upload things that are uncensored and non-redacted, thanks to those couple of things that have happened because of technology, the police brutality has been recorded and it has been shared around the world instantaneously in ways that they can't stop it. Like, for instance, I was watching a video today where there was this guy supposedly who was handcuffed in a police precinct and they shot him somehow and killed him because he tried to go after the cop's gun or something. And supposedly he got the cop's gun, but the guy had his hands cuffed behind his back. So the cop is being investigated for that, right? We would have never known about it if it hadn't been for the camera that somebody was wearing that recorded it, right? There was also situations that have happened like 4 or 5 years ago. We would have never known about them if they hadn't hit YouTube and then we found out about it. So my thing is, with the technology that will evolve, comes counter technology or comes other things. So, and you can't anticipate them. 20 years ago, you never would have known about no damn smartphone, but now you've got it. And now it's in your pocket. Now you can do a million things with it. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we can't look that far into the future. They call people like that Malthusian Luddites. They say, yeah, you're afraid of the technology and you want to destroy it and everything before it even happens. The reality is we can't anticipate it. We know it's coming based on the laws, but we can't anticipate all of the things that are going to happen. But for the most part, I think that electric vehicles and self-driving is going to make the streets a lot safer, for one. And I also, well, first of all, we know it's going to make it quieter. It's going to make it quieter.
Yeah, that's for sure.
We know it's going to make it quieter. We know it's going to make it safer. And we also know that, well, we don't know. There's a lot of things we don't know, but we will get there eventually, you know?
Yeah, it's yet to be seen, you know. I don't know. I don't know. It's just a crazy thing to think about how much power people are still going to have, though. Let's just hope it goes where you say it'll go, because I mean, there's no telling where things go in the future. We've had our share of disasters as humanity, and sometimes making the wrong decision is detrimental and, you know, can hurt everybody. So I just hope that it goes in a positive way and we don't have these issues.
You know, we're not going to have these issues. We're going to have new ones. You know, that's what it always is. There's always going to be new issues that we couldn't have even anticipated, because me personally, my only problem with electric vehicles is right now the battery technology in some cases is not stable enough for high temperatures. Because one of the issues with electric vehicles is they have to cool themselves down in order to make sure that, you know, the lithium ion batteries are okay. Thing about it is they've got new battery technology coming where there's no liquid involved and it's just a solid state battery. So again, the competition that you spoke of early is creating new batteries that do better than the ones that we've got now. That's why when Teslas first came out, they could only promise you like less than 200 miles range. Now they've given you 500. And that's within what, 10 years? So, yeah. You know, I'm all for it. Let me tell you something. I'm a tech guy. I'm all for it.
Yeah, I'm all for technology too. I think that if we move too fast in one direction, we make more mistakes than if we take it slower. That's all.
Yeah, that's what
I just think if we go too fast, sometimes we go so fast that we don't stop to smell the roses, kind of thing. You move too fast, life passes you by. Like, we move into this electric extremely fast, and everybody's like, oh, fuck, like, we can't go back now. Uh-oh, we didn't realize it was going to be like this. Holy shit, this is a nightmare. Like, I hate saying this, but just think about the wars we've had in the past. Go back to the 70s for Vietnam. After the war, people are like, oh, fuck. Like, wish we hadn't done that. That was senseless. We lost more lives and solved nothing. Like, that's just an example. I'm not saying this is the same thing. I'm just saying anytime we jump the gun or rush, mistakes happen. Human beings are not perfect. And the faster we move, the more mistakes we make. I just think we got to, you know.
Well, you got to remember Vietnam. Well, you know, when you talk about wars, that was an example of bad policy.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have been there at all. We should not have been there trying to stop those people from trying to live the way they wanted to live. That was an example of bad policy. And I could almost say that, like what you're talking about with the government trying to get rid of, because you got to remember, the government's not trying to get rid of gasoline. The government is ultimately trying to make things very efficient to the point where gasoline will end up think about it like this. They passed those cafe laws. What did it lead to? It led to your Toyota Prius. It led to electric cars. It led to inefficient cars being more efficient. So all that happened was the free market figured out ways to get around the issue. Because when those cafe laws first came out, remember, the cafe laws, when they first came out, SUVs were exempt because SUVs were considered body-on-frame trucks back then. Later on, they morphed and they became crossovers, and now they're crossovers that have 4-cylinder and 6 V6s, and they get better gas mileage than anything from the 70s for the most part, and they carry more people. So the free market will figure out ways around these things. And because the government here,
How's it going, guys?
Hi, 1 second. Because the government here is going to be forced to work within the Constitution, Europe and Asia will not be. There's going to be some type of balance that's struck country to country, but ultimately, at the end of the day, these car companies are going to figure out ways to sell these things at a profit. So, Corey, I'm just going to say this because I don't know how long you plan on sticking around. I let a couple of people come onto the panel too. So I don't know if they have something to say to add to this conversation.
Oh yeah, no. I'm probably gonna get going. Got some other things to do, but I couldn't pass up a chance to chat and hang out with you as like
all right.
old
Does
time,
anybody
bro.
have a question for Corey? Address your questions to him one by one. But if you have a question for him, just ask him because I know he's getting ready to get out of here. And by the way, Corey, check out this StreamYard, man. It's free.
Yeah, I'll do that, and maybe on my next podcast I'll have you on, bro.
Okay,
For sure.
All right.
It'd be awesome.
Anybody got a question for Corey?
Yeah.
Okay, Ricky,
Hang
what's
on
up?
here, Corey.
What's happening?
Michael, what's up? What's going on?
Not
Hello?
much, John. How about yourself?
No, I'm doing good. I just wanted, if you got questions about this topic, I was just trying to get a couple questions about the topic before Corey gets out of here.
I have not a question, but it's something more of a comment.
Okay,
the
go.
point that you did give, John, was that they don't want to totally get rid of gas. They just want to prioritize it in where it should go. Maybe on airplanes probably use different type of combustion engines, but for raw materials, for like making toys or making just products in general, I think that would go better. Petroleum would go, or gas or natural gas would go better with that than just using it on vehicles. I don't know. That's just how I feel. But yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, for certain applications, I'm tired of gas at this point. For some applications, so I'm really ready to
Right.
try something new.
No, yeah.
Juan, how you doing, Juan? You
It's
got a
better for
question
the
or you got a
environment in
comment?
a way. Well,
I mean, I got a couple questions.
Go ahead.
So basically, I'm trying to get a Hellcat, right?
Uh-oh.
But my only problem is that this EV stuff, I don't know, like how they say 900 all-wheel drive. That's what's kind of making me like, should I just wait or should I, jump the gun and buy the Hellcat and then trade in for the EV? I don't know. Honestly, what's my biggest game plan? What's the better decision?
If you buy a Hellcat new, you're gonna take like a $20,000 to $30,000 depreciation. If you're able to find one that's used and in good condition, and maybe all you got to do is change maybe the brakes and the tires, that might be a better choice if you really need a car right now. Thing about it is a Hellcat's not a cheap car.
I understand that completely because I found one that's around my area. It's 60K. It has 9,000 miles. It's a 2016. It's a Charger. That's what I'm trying to go for. I got the money saved up pretty basically, but I'm gonna try to finance it that way. I don't get all 60K right away. But the only thing, like I said, I'm just worried about if I buy this. It's used, by the way, but if I buy this, I'm probably and the EV comes out. I don't know if I'm gonna get most of it or some of the return back if I want to get the EV.
You can't even imagine how fast that thing's going to depreciate. In order for you to get an idea about depreciation, take a look at the 2015, 2016 Hellcats and see how quickly they depreciated. Now, as far as buying a used Hellcat, I can tell you right away that's not a great idea, but you're going to have to end up rebuilding a lot of parts of it. Take a look at Mod to Fame, his channel, or some of the channels with guys who have used Hellcats, and look at how they track all the stuff they've had to replace and all the money they've spent. If you get one of those things, the smartest thing to do is lease it.
All right. Yeah, I've seen your video when about the leasing and everything, but yeah, like I said, I don't know. For right now, I'm trust me, like the urge to get one just because I know people, there's some of my friends or whatever, they got some, it's cool or whatever, but it's
But
just
do me a
that.
favor. Do me a favor. Don't buy something just because your friends have it and you're trying to fit into a club. These things are expensive. They're very wasteful and they're very inefficient. Now, if you just want it to have, yeah, if you just want it for yourself, just to have fun,
Yeah.
okay. But if you need a practical vehicle that you can use all year round, you might want to look at something else.
Now what would you? Because I know that the Trackhawk is also an option. I could definitely afford the Trackhawk too, but
So, well, hold on. Are you ready to spend $2,000 a month on a car?
yeah, I could do that. I could definitely do that.
You
But
think you're comfortable spending $2,000 a month on a vehicle?
yeah,
Okay, fine, then go get a Trackhawk.
but that's the
That's more
thing.
practical, easy.
Yeah, that's like you were just talking about everyday use. I don't want an everyday use. It's gonna be like my every once in a while, right? But that's the thing. Like I it's not that my friends have one and I want one. It's like, oh, I want one. Like I want one just for myself.
These are some very expensive toys. So, I mean, listen, if you've got that kind of money, just understand that there's a huge opportunity cost. Like you could buy a fucking second house for that kind of money, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
So just my thing is make sure whatever you get makes financial sense and make sure it's practical because I don't see spending $2,000 a month on a car. I just don't see it right now. Not unless you're buying some ultra luxury something or other. Kevin has a question right here. It says, "Is a 2014 Jeep Grand Cherokee with 120,000 miles for 15K a good buy?" Honestly, Kevin, I think you could get something a little bit newer with less mileage, but you're gonna have to shop around because right now the used car market's a mess. Yeah, Corey, I see your thing. It says thanks for having me on. Yeah, you're welcome. And yeah, we had a good time with you. So yeah, he was saying goodbye. But listen, instead of buying a car that has over 100,000 miles, I really think you should try to find something with lower mileage. If you're determined to buy a used car, try to find something with lower mileage. I think that makes sense. Now the Grand Cherokee can handle over 100,000 miles, but at that point, I have to call into question certain parts need to be rebuilt, like the engine and the entire suspension, probably, because that's a lot of miles. I'm at 60,000. I'm at 65,000 so far. I'm doing pretty good. My engine has shown no trouble whatsoever. I did have to replace the rear differential. I had to replace the thermostat. But other than that, it's been pretty solid. Usually 4x4s have trouble with their differentials because you got so much torque and power going four directions. So, I would try to find something with less mileage. If you're saying you want to stick under 18K, yeah, there's some cars out there, but keep in mind right now is not the time to buy because the used car market's crazy right now. So, and also remember, you can also consider buying new. If you have $18,000, I don't know what you'll have down the road, but you could buy a decent vehicle right now that doesn't cost that much. Maybe you put down $3,000 or $4,000, and I don't know how your money comes in. But if you really want to buy something outright, I would still go for something with less mileage. Sorry. Any other major questions here?
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment. Yeah, because I want to probably end in about 7 minutes. That'll be 2 total hours. But yeah, I mean, Corey is big into cars, and he has a YouTube channel. It's Driveway Demons, just in case you don't recognize him. But he bought a Hellcat Red Eye Challenger, and I think he has a GT350, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he's heavy into cars, and he tows his cars. He goes to car shows, this, that, and other. Yeah, my thing is, again, I just want him to test drive these things. If he hates them after he drives them, fine. But I want him to test drive a couple of them just so he can understand what he's dealing with, and he can easily, in his mind, he'd be able to compare them to what he has. So that's my challenge to people. Like I've taken people to test drive cars, and a lot of the things they end up really really liking, and some things they don't, but a lot of the things they do. So some people are not mentally prepared for an electric vehicle. I understand that, but Elsef, you got questions? Because I'm getting. What do you got to say? I got about 5 minutes.
I have a question. I'm
Yeah.
thinking about getting me a 2007 Toyota Camry hybrid as my first car, but I don't think I should because
If I were you, I'd
I
go
think
for the
gas,
regular gas engine instead of the hybrid.
like it's hybrid and gas, John.
No, I know, but if I were you, I'd go for the regular car. The reason why is because there's fewer parts and it's more reliable.
So I should just get the regular version, not the hybrid.
I would go for the regular version if you
Thank
could.
you.
Yeah, because there's fewer parts. Not only that, the parts are less expensive.
Okay, so no, because I looked it up on Google and it said it wasn't as expensive to replace a hybrid part in some of these Toyotas versus
How much? How
the
much is this
hybrid
going to
other
cost?
ones.
How much is this going to cost?
It's like 2,000 at its cheapest, up to 4,500. I mean,
Well, wait. How much is the total price of the car?
the price, the one I want, is like 4,700.
Do you have $4,700?
I'm doing it at the end of the year.
Okay. Well, if you don't find anything else better, then yeah, that's fine. I guess try to make sure it's in good condition. The problem with hybrids is it's very expensive to replace the batteries.
Yeah, that's my issue, Chris. That's
See,
why I'm asking you, should I buy it?
if,
I don't want
if
to.
you get like one of those regular Camrys or you get a regular Honda Accord, the parts are easy as hell, cheap and easy to get. Right?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
But I don't want a Honda. It's too small for me.
Oh, okay. Well, I totally
I'm
understand.
big, so I can't get no Honda.
I'll tell you like this. I like the 2012 Toyota Camry. After that, I didn't like the styling direction that they went in. But a 2007 Camry is not. I mean, it's not too bad. But if you could get better, I'd go
No,
for.
excuse me.
What?
I'm a Toyota fan, but the newer Toyotas, I think they look ugly in my opinion. I can't ever see myself driving a Toyota unless it's electric. They
I'll
are
say
electric,
it
but they're
like this.
really expensive.
If you get go by mileage, try to get the lowest mileage you can get. Where the hell are you?
He's in
I'm
Los
there- no,
Angeles.
no,
He's in East
No,
LA.
the problem is I'm in
Yeah.
Los Angeles, and I have to go really far to get that car. I can't.
Oh,
all
alright.
the Toyotas around where I live, they're high mileage.
So you may have to look out. You may have to look outside of state. You may have to go to another state and bring it back. But you may have to go outside of the state.
Yeah, so
Okay,
I
question,
gotta.
John. What about this Hyundai? What about this 2010 Hyundai Elantra SE?
The
I found
Elantra's
in,
okay. Yeah, the Elantra's okay.
Utah.
It's just that they don't. The Elantra's okay. It just doesn't have as high reliability as the Camry. Somebody else said they had a question. Who was that? Rick?
Yeah. So I got a
Thank you.
question. When do we know when the I have an SRT Jeep 2013 right now, and do we know when the Grand Wagoneer design interiors come into the SRT line, or even better, a supercharge?
Okay, first of all, SRT for Jeep is done. There are no more Jeep
Yeah,
SRT is done. Now,
Yep.
as far as the new Jeep Grand Cherokee, you can go to your lots right now and you can look into the new Jeep Grand Cherokee. The Wagoneer's interior looks a lot like some of the things that they have in the Jeep Grand Cherokee. It's just that the Wagoneer has more premium versions of just about every part.
Yeah.
So the Wagoneer, the way the Wagoneer looks, you're never going to get that inside a Jeep Grand Cherokee. However, if you get a fully loaded Jeep Grand Cherokee, you get basically everything the Wagoneer has, with the exception of all of that extra stuff that they have for the extra passengers.
Will they create? I mean, I'm not a fan of the Trackhawk either, for all the reasons we always you always talk about. But
Right.
will there eventually be a supercharged version of?
They're saying the answer is no. They already said no to that.
Oh
I
boy.
think the highest engine you're going to be able to get is a 5.7 liter Hemi, and I think after that is a plug-in. But the supercharged days, that's done. That as far as they're concerned, that's over.
All Dodge, right? That's all Dodge stuff now.
Yeah, it's all anything that gets made even remotely like that is Dodge.
Yep.
So yeah, again, they let us down, but that's just what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in a holding pattern for a long time. Then the Trackhawk showed up, and I was like, wait a second. Besides yellow calipers, I can't tell it from any old Jeep. So I'm not interested in that. Let's see what they came out with. And of course, I mean the new Dodge, the Dodge Hellcat is nice, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's disappointing, but again, they've been disappointing me since the Jeep Trackhawk, so I'm used to the disappointment at this point. So my thing is, at this point, I'm just going to keep my money just saved and waiting, and I'm just going to end up probably going for the EV when they put it out, because my thing is, I want something new, but I want something like that's totally new, And I don't know what they're going to fully make. I don't know what all they're going to
Refresh.
offer us, but I think it's going to be awesome. I think they're going to figure out ways to make it exciting, and we'll see what
The
happens.
new Grand Cherokee looks like the Land Rover almost.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been in it. I have to say, I've got nothing against it. It's a nice vehicle. It's a really nice vehicle. It's expensive, but it's a really nice. The Grand Cherokee's really nice, just like I like the Wagoneer too. But
It's
that
like the
too,
American Land Rover, the American
it's
version
really
of it.
expensive. Now, well, Land Rover puts premium materials in to the point where the cars are extremely expensive. The thing about it is, Range Rovers, Land Rovers, they have very low reliability.
Yeah, poor quality.
Their reliability is much lower than Stellantis.
Like Jaguar.
Yeah. Well, Jaguar was actually certain cars in Jaguar's line were doing pretty well, but Land Rover, Range Rover wasn't. So that's just, and they're made by Tata Motors now, and I think their reliability is slowly improving.
So would you ever consider a Durango Hellcat?
If I saw one and they weren't trying to rip me off for it, and they wanted to see, the problem is they're going to want to trade in my Jeep for that, because there's no reason for me to have two trucks. There's no reason.
Yep.
So I could consider it, but I'm pretty sure my next car is going to be an electric car. I'm pretty sure. And if Dodge is doing something really nice and cool and everything, I'll go with Dodge. If not, I may go with somebody else. But I'd like to go with Stellantis, but we'll see what happens. I really don't know. I really, really don't know. Right now, and I'm over time they're going to work out a lot of the issues that they have. So they've got what? They've got a little less than 2 years, or they got about 2 years. We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
But I'm not trying to buy anything that's not practical, and I'm not trying to buy anything that's wasteful at this point. I'm just not trying to do it.
Yeah, I'm in a weird like middle road on two extremes. Like, do I want to? I have a 2013 Jeep SRT now. Do I want to maybe consider a Durango Hellcat, or go completely the opposite direction and wait for my Cybertruck to show up?
Oh well, if you're looking at a Cybertruck, chances are you'll get that, and if you like it, you'll hold on to that for a while. My thing is, whatever I get is going to be a lease, because if I decide I don't like it, I'm going to swap to something else. I'll ride around in it and appreciate it for whatever it is, and if I don't like it, I'm going to ditch it and I'll go to something else. So that's just basically it, and that's just basically what I'm going to do, because I'm not trying to buy anything that's impractical. 2-3 years from now, I might be married with kids and everything, and I'm not going to have space for an impractical vehicle. I'm just not going to have it, So anyway, It is now 2 hours and 4 minutes past. That time went pretty quickly. I'm glad everybody joined us. So thank you guys for joining us. Thank you guys for everybody who did chip in and support the channel. I'm getting off right now because I got to go.
Excuse me, John.
Who is that?
You know, I like watching your YouTube channel, but since I have college and stuff, I can't really be on YouTube as much.
Yeah, you got to focus on your work, man. You got to focus on your work. You can watch me after.
This is my first year of college, and I can't really watch YouTube these days.
You can
and I have to take my summer classes.
You got to focus on your school. Yeah, that's the main important thing. You got to. Kai asks, I would recommend the New York International Auto Show. We lost the International Auto Show for 2 years because of COVID. Hopefully, it comes back.
I've heard that the tickets are on sale. The show is supposed to be in August, for like I believe the 20th to like the 28th. The tickets are on sale right now, but I think they're going fast. So I already ordered mines. Sometime in June. So yeah.
All right, that sounds exciting, man. I'll definitely probably do a video footage of it, just like I did for Mopar Nationals. It'll probably be a long video. That'll be cool. I didn't hear about it. I didn't know about it. That sounds cool.
Yeah, they have the website up, and they was talking about like they're gonna have like 120 like 1,000 square foot or whatever. They're gonna have like some type of area, like the track just dedicated to electric vehicles. So like you get to test drive it and stuff, but yeah, you should definitely look up the tickets for it though.
That sounds really awesome. I'll definitely check that out, and if it's happening, I'll definitely go to it because I probably have nothing else to do. You know, I was sitting around wondering to myself, I'm like, this sucks so much because this is the second year that I couldn't travel. Normally, right now, what is it, July 17th? Normally, right now, I'd been in another country, sitting in a pool somewhere with a foreign chick on my side or whatever. Right now, I'm stuck here. But, you know, that's just what it is. So
yeah, you have to sit here and deal with all this bullshit.
Yeah, hopefully next year will be better.
Like, John, if you're living here, are you going to hear these loud-ass mufflers? That's it. No peace and quiet.
I know. It's I've had enough. But you know what?
In my neighborhood, John, all I hear is these four-cylinder Hondas. That's it in my neighborhood in LA. That's all I hear, and I can't really sleep at night sometimes. That's why I just want them to pass these laws already.
Right.
So John, if you at some point you gotta have like a legacy, right? Which means kids to leave behind when you move on to the next phase in existence. So are you going to, if you decide you're gonna hook up with a hot Filipino, are you gonna move over there or move overseas, or are you gonna bring her back to the Matrix and risk her getting indoctrinated?
Well, first of all, I haven't. Well, first of all, it would be infeasible for me. It wouldn't be feasible for me to move overseas. Now, the option is, if I had a kid and it's with a foreign chick, she could take the kid to her country and he could go to school there, or she could go to school there, or whatever. And my thing is, I don't want to be apart from my family. So, they could come here. But believe me, this whole thing about bringing a chick here from another country and her getting ruined by American women, that only happens if you let it happen. If she comes here, she's not going to have the same, she's not going to have like American friends and everything to screw with her mind. She ain't going to have that. But I'll worry about that I'll worry about that later. It's like right now, I don't have to really worry about that. Because see, the thing that I need everybody to understand is, it's like, if you control your household, like, you can make it so that things go according to your plan. Now, some other people they live off of anecdotes. A lot of the dudes who marry foreign women, most of them have a great time doing it, and they're very happy. Some of them do it with the wrong people and marry the wrong person. And just like if they married a domestic person who was the wrong person, it all falls apart. But I'm not rushing into anything. And whatever I do, I'm going to be very, very, very cautious. I'm going to be very cautious about it. I'm not rushing into anything. I'm not making any final decisions too quickly. But you know what? I'll cross that bridge when I come to it.
Yeah, and make sure you keep her off Instagram.
Oh yeah, don't worry about that. There won't be any Instagram for it. Don't worry about that shit. All right, well, guys, thanks a lot for joining me. I'm gonna get off of here. Thank you guys. You guys were on here for over 2 hours, and
Bye,
appreciate
John. Have a good night.
I'm glad. I hope you enjoyed the topic and whatnot. So I'm getting off. I'm very, very tired right now, but
Good night.
I enjoyed it. It was awesome.
good. I'm glad you did. I hope you enjoyed the guests too. So you guys take care. Everybody have a good night, and thank you for supporting the channel.
Thanks, John.
All right.